Hey guys, it's Paige, and I'm here to do a review. So, my brother's yelling about losing internet. I don't know what he's talking about. And he's probably going to walk in my room any second, so if he does, I don't feel like restarting the video, so you just have to deal with him barging in here. I don't know if he's going to, because he just went downstairs. But anyways, let's get to the review. So, in my wrap-up, which was the video before this one, I asked you guys what books you want. They're all going to be reviewed no matter what, and I asked you guys which one you want to be reviewed first. And nobody really commented except for one person, and they said Fangirl, so I was like, whatever, I'll just do Fangirl first. So, this video will be a review of Fangirl by Helen Keeble. And I could ramble about this book for hours on top of hours on top of hours. It was so good. So I'll read the back to you. It says, "Sorry, Jane, you're a real vampire now. Sure, the idea of vampires is sexy, but Jane Green never actually wanted to spend eternity as a pasty, bloodthirsty 15-year-old. Now Jane's dealing with parents who want her to vamp them, an undead elder who's trying to hunt her down, and a seriously ripped vampire hunter who can't quite decide whether to stake her or make out with her." So, it sounds really, really good, and I read it, and I loved it. Like, so, to decide to read this, it was between this, and it was between Undead, which is another review that I have to do at some point. And, because I'm going to finish Undead, but I didn't want to, I kind of was, I didn't want to pick it up right away. I wanted to start something new, fresh. And so I was like, should I pick up Undead and finish it, or should I read Fangirl? And so Twitter, I tweeted it, and Helen Keeble tweeted back, and she was like, you should read Fangirl. And I was like, alright, I'll read Fangirl. So I read it, and it was amazing. I loved it. This is such a good book. A lot of people are getting tired of vampire books, and the reason being is because they're so, like, a lot of them are the same. Starts out with a girl who either is not a vampire and she falls in love with a vampire, or, you know, along those lines. And this is not like that at all. This random 15-year-old girl wakes up and she's a vampire, and it's like, whoa, what? She wakes up in a coffin underground, and she's like, wait a second, I died? Like, when did this happen? And her sire is on the phone with her telling her, like, her cell phone rings from under the ground, and her sire answers it, and she's like, hi, you're a vampire now, and I'm being chased down by vampires, so you're gonna have to get yourself out, bye! And so she's like, what? And so she ends up going home to her parents, and so her parents get involved, and it's so funny. Her parents are freaking out, running all around the house, pulling out all kinds of vampire books, and they're like, oh, we have to do research, we have to figure out how we can take care of you. And they, like, buy raw meat, and they buy, like, well, first of all, the mother's like, you need to drink from me, just drink some blood, you're hungry. And then she's like, no, actually, I'm not hungry at all, for some reason, which was weird, and it was so funny. And then there's this, okay, so my favorite quote in the book, I meant to put, like, a little marker on the edges so I can remember, but I remember the quote. It's, okay, so they bought a fish to experiment with, and so her mother, Jane's mother, took her blood and put it into the goldfish, and I was like, that's weird. And so it died, and it went under the rocks, and all of a sudden it came back alive 2-3 days later. And the way they found out that it was a vampire was so funny, because her protector dude, what's his name? Oh no, what's her protector dude's name? Oh no, you guys, I can't figure out what his name is. Oh, okay, Eben. Like, it's E-B-O-N. I don't know if it's Eben or Ebon or whatever. Anyways, I'm just gonna call him Eben. And so he's trying to teach her how to feel, how she can feel the bloodlines, to feel who's a vampire in her bloodline. So she can feel her sire, she can feel her sire's sire, and then she feels this weird tug, and then she feels a tug that's coming from the kitchen. The kitchen. And she's like, oh no. And they both run in the kitchen, and the fish is floating there with fangs. And he's like, oh, a fish! Why have you bitten a fish? And she's like, I didn't! And it was so funny. Oh god, I just started dying on the spot. My mom was like, what's your problem? I was like, I just read the funniest part ever. And that's one of the things I loved about this book was Helen did such a great job balancing humor and seriousness. Many authors have a terrible time doing that, and I don't understand why. Yeah, I mean, it is hard. It must be hard because a lot of authors can't do it. She did it well, and I'm glad because this book was fantastic. The characters are great. Jane is like some super... She's not super, but she's a vampire freak, and so when she turns into a vampire, she's like, whoa! I love vampires, and this is so cool, but I wasn't I never actually wanted to be a vampire. Like, who thinks that vampires are real? Like, really? Like, I like them, but what? And so she was, but along this freak-out line, she was so prepared. She was like, alright, I need blood. I can't hug anybody because I'll freaking freak out and bite them. She's like, I need to stay away. I'm like, alright. So, like, she had to pick her dad up, or her dad had to pick her up from the side of the road because she came back from the dead, and her dad needed to pick her up. And so... she called her dad, and then she was like, wait, no, never mind, you can't pick me up, because I'll have blood loss, and I'll kill you, and he was like, oh, alright. It was so funny. I love this book. I don't know how many times I'm going to say that, but... some parts were a bit confusing, like the whole who was the bad guy in the book, that was confusing. Because at first, it was the sire, he was the bad guy, and then it was the sire, and then it was the one trying to protect her, and then it was the sire again, and I was like, whoa, what? I was like, this is going weird. That's the only thing I didn't like. Actually, I don't think I mentioned that in my written review, because I think my thoughts come out more in these video reviews. That's why I like to do both. But that was one thing I didn't like, is the bad guy. I was confused as to who the bad guy was, because it went around so much. It was weird. Sorry, I'm texting while I'm writing this video. While I'm writing this video. While I'm taping this video. So, overall, it gets a 5 out of 5 stars, and you should definitely read it. And this, I believe, is a standalone, because it totally fits, the ending totally fits as a standalone, I believe. Actually, well, the ending is kind of like a pickup line, so I don't know if it's supposed to be a standalone, or if it means that there's going to be a sequel, and this pickup line, it means something. No idea. But if it's just a standalone, I'm perfectly fine, because it ended perfectly, like, I loved it. But I'll also be happy if there's a second book, because I love her writing, and I would so love there to be a second book, because I'd love some funny vampire humor, because I need that in my life sometimes. Because the vampire books I read are so serious and crazy and dark, and this one was so lighthearted and fun, and I was like, yeah, I love it. So yeah, this book, absolutely amazing. Read it as soon as you get it. I loved it. And I'm going to sign off now. It's New Year's Eve right now, you guys, and I'm gonna go party. As hard as a 16-year-old can without getting in trouble. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.